the distinctive type of art. But we talked about that yesterday, I think, right?
No, I was talking about their famous temple.
Oh, yes. I thought that was Temple of the Sun. I don't know. Could be wrong.
Temple of the Sun, that's the Mayan. The Chavin had this like black and white, like, awesome stone temple, which is like evidence of their creation. Anyway, defensive walls.
Great Wall of China.
Everybody but the Spartans.
Great Wall of China is not yet like
not a thing. Not a thing yet.
So who needs defensive walls? Everyone. Okay, so let's name like some specific people and like why they would need them.
Yes.
Sumerians have some.
And Babylons, which come out of Mesopotamia later.
Some. So like the Ishtar Gate, for example, that Nebuchadnezzar built, like that's a huge defensive wall. The Sumerians needed some defensive walls because remember they're city-states. And there was like lots of warring going on.
There was also a lot of flat terrain, so they weren't necessarily covered by like mountains.
Yes.
Right, they didn't have the mountains, or like the Egyptians didn't have like vast deserts on either side. Or for China, the Gobi Desert or the Himalayas.
The Indus River Valley civilization, Mohenjo and Harappa have big walls as well when you look at their structures.
Yes, very good. So speaking of Harappa, they're also a really good example of sewage and water systems. So they had like a pretty complex.
We think they had toilets.
Did we just skip over Streets and Bread?
We did.
But that's okay because it's only Harappa and Mohenjo too that are the ones that have the streets and roads because of their awesome grid cities and their laid out infrastructure. Yes. Yeah. Pretty much. And then they disappear and we don't know why.
They went with the aliens.
They did. They put them on the alien list.
The Olmec also had some pretty good water systems too.
And also what you're talking about, I think in the South American temples, like water like running from each temple to temple. I need to look that up because I think it's that one too.
For sculpture, so sculpture is kind of like temples. So Egyptians had tons of sculpture. We talked about the Olmec yesterday with their like giant heads. We also talked about, or Ms. Wainright talked about yesterday, the Chavin and their smaller sculptures.
The figurines.
Composite figures. That's what I was trying to think of yesterday. Figures that are both like half man, half animal.
That's the term composite.
Mm-hmm.
Like every culture basically has sculpture.
Were you asking me the Chavin temple is I think you said the Huantar.
Yeah,
the Huantar.
Like white and black, but the stone wasn't native.
And it's kind of like built into the mountain a little bit. Yep.
So questions about sculpture. You should be able to come up with something for sculpture. If you were ever to have a question about this.
Most of the societies have sculpture of some sort.
So paintings, kind of the same thing. So one of the earliest paintings was where? Or on what surface? Cave painting. So lasso, that's Lascaux. This is like one of the most famous cave paintings ever. Egyptians also had paintings. Was it Harappa or no? Harappa didn't have them.
No, I think Olmec may have had also some painted designs.
On the walls too.
I definitely Maya later for sure, but Egypt is the one that like kind of sticks out most as the most colorful and vibrant at this time.
And by wall decorations, I actually didn't even know what you meant because most paintings.
The paintings basically do, but early versions of what?
Hieroglyphics.
Well, yeah, and that like decorating wall with that like written things, but also the fact that it's to decorate the walls with inside the burial tombs and those kind of things. Yes, so a lot of it is written or painted or scripted in, but also early textile woven pieces are found in some of the different places, but in terms of like, but it's mostly hanging because of the afterlife. So in the Book of Dead in parts of Egypt, so the fact that they're decorating, like in terms of like if you look at the room, like hanging stuff on the wall to make it look like there's decoration, but not like anything more than that. But the move towards that. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Elaborate weaving. Generally, the Chavin are really the ones who really made this much more complex and artistic.
You have the, and I don't know, and you're more the weaving and the incorporation of jade in the weaving of the burial shrouds that they did in China whenever somebody was buried, and they would make the jade like armor pieces and the mask and the intricacies that went into doing that. The Egyptians as well, whenever you're talking about the burials, again, going into the types of, pieces that they put on the body above the mummy wrap that we usually consider. So,
and a lot of that also has to do with like metalwork too. It's not necessarily weaving.
Yeah, those say our metallurgy or whatever.
Okay, then let's do a quick to see if you know where these.
Painting. I just thought of another one. Papyrus paintings. Early papyrus paintings in Egypt too. And some of the. Right. So those early. I totally forgot about those. Okay, so why are cuneiform, hieroglyphs, pictographs, alphabet, and quipu all together on the same line? Record systems, right? They're all record systems. So cuneiform comes from what civilization? Mesopotamia, Sumeria, okay. Hieroglyphs, Egypt. Pictographs, it's kind of tricky. Shang, China, right. And earlier, even Indus Valley, you could argue are pictographs, but they can't be deciphered yet. That was part of the thing. The first alphabet, I think Miss Chambers told you yesterday, possibly.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so the first time we see a alphabet, or what we call an alphabet, which society does that come out of later in this period?
I heard it.
What?
No.
Phoenicians, good.
Phonetic alphabet, yeah.
Phoenicians, which are the sea people of the Mediterranean that pretty much come out of Lebanon, or what would be modern day Lebanon.
Look this one up over the weekend. Not kidding.
I was like, come on. Yes, Peru, Quipu. So that would be early South American, and that one's unique to all the other ones. How is Quipu unique to the other ones?
It wasn't written.
It's not really written. It's a knot system, right? So it's basically based on the strings and for counting devices and record keeping, and that's each of the knots told a story or whatever the case is. So, and that's to remind you that record keeping doesn't have to always be written. Like it can be something else in terms of that. And then of course later on the codices and things like that, but Quipu is the most there. Okay, so this is where it gets hard because you can see in the bold part, culture, we're in C part of spice. It's a lot of it, language, literature, religion, myths, and monumental art, but also the impact of laws. And culture kind of blends with politics during this early time period and other ones because we're still dealing with theocracies. What's a theocracy? Theocracy.
Run by the religion.
So the combination of religion and state. We're not going to see the separation of state and church for a long time. So a lot of the culture and politics really go together in these early periods that we study. So a lot of these texts are going to blend together in terms of both culture and political influence. So Code of Hammurabi. Who's going to raise their hand and tell us where that came from and why it's important? Jonah?
It came from Mesopotamia.
Yep.
And it's important because it's like one of the first laws of government that we have in.
Okay, so yes, so two things, and he's missing one important fact. So yes, it comes from Mesopotamia. It is the first law code that we have that's dated, the oldest. But also, just because and there may have been laws before that, but what makes the Code of Hammurabi important beyond it being like this big thing? How do we know? That's a big thing. How do we know it exists? That's kind of why it's significant. It was codified. Codified, which means what? Because you're going to see that word come up in other slides. Written down on something that could be passed, right? On stone or whatever the case is. So, bless you. It is the first codified law, meaning written down. That doesn't mean it's the first equal law, for sure. Like, if you're rich and poor, you're not going to have the same type of thing happening, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth kind of thing, if y'all remember. But the fact that it was written down for the first time, that's a big deal.
And Hammurabi got, abolished local laws. So, under his empire, there was, a single law code.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So, Epic of Gilgamesh. We talked about this yesterday as well. So, what is this?
It's
the first story.
First story.
Yes.
First piece of literature.
Where?
Mesopotamia.
Good.
Specifically her.
Good.
Yes, specifically Ur body.
The Rig Veda. We did not talk about this yesterday.
Well, it's where Hinduism evolves, so it becomes what we.
The body, right?
Egyptian.
It talks. Well, it's about a lot of things. So it's Jonah's right. It's where Hinduism is going to spring up. So what part of the world are we in? India, Indus River Valley. Okay, brought the Rig Vedas, our Vedas, because it's a collection, come from which Indo-European group? Aryans.
Good.
Right. The Aryans bring it into what is the Indus Valley. They meet up with this other group, the Dravidians. The Dravidians were the indigenous population of the Indus River Valley, and together they mix their ideas to create the Vedic society, which will become the Hindu society eventually, okay? So the Rig Vedas are a collection of, or the Rig Vedas part of Vedas, which of what?
Creation stories.
Stories, yeah. Well, Jonah said creation stories, but hymns,
Hymns,
songs,
songs,
prayers. Yeah.
And it was initially just an oral tradition.
Yeah.
So like the Vedas in general were orally passed down. The Rig Veda is written.
Written, right. So it starts with the Vedas, Rig Veda, and then eventually the Upanishads, which will be after really more of that. Okay, so Rig Veda, Vedic society. Book of Dead. This stumps everybody all the time. Anybody know?
Yesterday.
And about the afterlife, mostly about
How
that.
you get
And
to
Ella,
the
what are you saying?
afterlife.
Yeah.
It's like all these little tricks.
Yeah. So all of these are more pieces of literature dealing with religion and, this beginnings of what becomes written down literature and prayers and, this whole codified kind of thing. All right. And so the next one is basically the main religious beliefs that are going to spring out of this first time period, period 1. So, there's all these arguments about which one's first and which one's the oldest, and you could go over and over. But the fact is these 3 are the oldest dated in terms of scholarship. So the Vedic religion, remember, we don't want to jump to calling it Hinduism yet, but the whole practices of the Aryans and Dravidians in the Indus River Valley. Hebrew monotheism, chapter 2 in your textbook, is where you can learn all about that. Why is that a big deal? Yes, it's the first lasting monotheistic religion, which will influence other monotheistic religions. What is monotheism?
One God.
Right, the belief in one God.
Although some people do argue that Zoroastrianism beats them out.
Supposed to be
Yeah.
first.
Mm-hmm. Well,
People
there's
argue it's like the first monotheistic, but
and other people will argue
Argue
that
that
what's his name in Egypt with the sun also had one of the first Akhenaten, but because it dies and doesn't last, that is Akhenaten's sun worship. So yeah. But going back to what Ms. Chambers said about Zoroastrianism, why are there a lot of associations between Zoroastrianism and Hebrew monotheism? If you had to connect them, that would be a good complex understanding connection, because why would people argue that they may have influenced each other during this time based on what they believe?
They're in the same region.
Well,
what do
beyond
they
that.
believe?
What do they believe? That's what I'm saying. Why would people argue that they are maybe influenced by each other? Well, first of all, where is Zoroastrianism origin to? So Hebrew monotheism is Middle East. Persia. Okay, so it's coming out of the Persian area. So we don't have Persian Empire yet. Note, this is before Persian empires. Okay, so it is affiliated most. I think it gets the most, it's associated with Persian empires. But it does, Zoroaster, the founder, comes out. By the way, who's the founder of Hebrew monotheism?
Do not say Jesus.
Yeah.
Abraham?
Abraham is the one that's affiliated with the founding of that. Father Abraham, right? Okay, so Zoroaster, nobody remembers anything about Zoroastrianism. It's just a thing from Persia.
John Mormon.
Like
Okay.
what two powers, or what two things are competing?
Okay, there we go. Wait,
Evil.
Pierre said it. Why people are going to argue about the Ahura Mazda? Okay, who is Ahura Mazda, Pierre?
One spirit.
He's the one spirit, so it's the head god the supreme being of Zoroastrianism. And I always think of the car Mazda, so you don't forget that, right? Spelled the same way. Okay, but what do they believe? Miss Chambers said very similar.
Someone took it over here.
Good and evil.
Yes.
Evil.
Struggle, and there's judgment, and good people be rewarded, and bad people will be punished, and the light and the dark. So a lot of similar moral codes of living stressed in each of those, okay?
People also have
Yeah. Okay, so required examples of trade expansion. Basically, that last point, because it's kind of thrown in there, is that you need to realize that we're moving out of just regional trade and people are starting to have trans-regional connections dealing with that. So the two most identifiable we put on the bottom, Egypt and Nubia, because of the gold that's going in the interactions and slaves even at that time.
And Nubia is heavily influenced by Egypt.
Yes.
With their art and like their writing systems and everything.
It's
the
south,
religion too.
right? Nubia is south
South.
of Egypt. And it's confusing because upper is
It's upper, which
is
is
down and lower is
Yeah.
up. Yeah, it's all confusing.
every time.
And a lot of people I think that Nubia is actually part of Egypt sometimes
No,
when
it's
they
not.
teach it, but it's its own little kingdom. Oh, and then Mesopotamian Indus, definitely trading. We have evidence of both artifacts being found in both places. So we're starting to see these trans-regional, hence we know transportation technology is getting better with those Indo-Europeans bringing in some advances with horses, etc.
And it's not just like things, it's ideas as well that are being like transported back and forth.
We made it. Yeah, period 2, period 2.
So in your textbook, this is chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 7 and 12 in your textbook.
So, reading the title, okay, so if you didn't guess, the title of chapter 1, which was something about technology and human, blah, blah, that was mostly interaction in human environment, right? Big time in terms. So when we're looking at what AP College Words has called these periods, these are titles that we did not make up. These are titles that come out of the curriculum guide. They all relate heavily to spice. And I know y'all didn't do spice last year, but spice is a thing. Those are the 5 themes that drive this course, right? So looking at this title, Organization and Reorganization of Human Societies, what spice themes are probably going to stand out a lot? Social and political, right? So a lot of social and political, but also we're going to finish off with culture because once again, religion is going to be profound in those reorganizations and organizations because of theocracy. I can't talk that. So I'll let Ms. Chambers start with some religion.
Okay, so codifications, which is, remind me.
Written down.
Right, very good.
Did we take roll?
Yes.
Okay.
And further development of existing religious traditions provided a bond among the people, an ethical code to live by. So the two ones that we focused on here are Judaism and Hinduism. Who can speak to one of those?
About like
Codification and the ethical
So
codes
how
to
it
live
is,
by. Like, how does it meet
How
that?
does it impact?
Okay, Jenna?
Well, I know in like Judaism, like the first like certain books of their Torah or whatever is like 700 laws that they have to live by.
Leviticus.
How to do everything, like
Right.
from like eat to, so like that basically like they all live together because they have to follow, they have to eat certain stuff. So it kind of gives everybody like
Kosher.
Mm-hmm.
they have to eat kosher, so it gives everybody like a job to do because they have to.
And a
live by
standard and like rules and to follow. Okay, or the covenant, if we talk about Moses and, getting the covenant, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, what about Hinduism? That one's a little harder because, and once again, remember, these are the two oldest codified like religions that really, they're really, we ignore, like we said, Zoroastrianism is kind of on there, but these are the two that last, the test of all time, like get the more followers. So what kind of ethical codes and things do we tie back to Hinduism? Because it kind of does the same thing. Jenna, you want to continue on that one?
I feel like
Brian's too. Go ahead.
Brian.
We'll let Brian take some time. Go ahead.
So like it was based on the idea of reincarnation and like how you acted in your like current
Karma.
life will affect how like what societal position you are in your later life.
Caste system. And then does anybody remember any like written texts that that were codified to push
Wainright
those?
said it earlier.
What did I say it turns into later? Well, the Rig Veda is written down. The Upanishads are going to be the standards. And the laws of Manu, the law book of Manu, which talks about the caste system and like who becomes what caste and what's the expectations. And it's in the Upanishads too. Mm-hmm.
But the law book of Manu, I think, is like created in like period 1 or something. It's a lot earlier.
It comes out of Vedic society for sure because it has the creation myth and all of that. And it establishes the roles between the man and the husband. Because it's very Adam and Eve-like too.
Yes, very much so. And that definitely, like, a lot of this bleeds into, like, ethical code to live by, bleeds into gender expectations and all of that for both of these religions especially.
Okay.
Anything else to add for either Judaism and Hinduism regarding ethical codes? Okay. So, new belief system and cultural traditions emerged and spread, often asserting universal truths. So, what are some universal truths? Who can define
Ooh, that's
what
a good one.
universal truth is?
People wanted universal truths because the early river valleys, it was kind of like, oh, you're dying because the gods hate you. Oh, you are doing well because gods love you. And they thought of the gods more like humans and more anthropomorphic. But now people are like, I don't like that. I want some universal truths. So what do we mean by that? The what?
Like X is wrong.
What?
It's like blank is wrong.
Like something's right or wrong and why something's right or wrong. Give me a reason to do right versus wrong, right? Like explain to me why do I need to be good as opposed to making poor decisions, right? Like I need this reason for how, or what do you call it? Instructions for how to live. But also, but here's the deal, universal truths. Why is it important to do good? Like why do you want to do good? What is the ultimate goal of doing well? Right, the universal. Why are we here? Universal truths. Why are we being good? What are we trying to achieve? What are these goals? Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Why do I need to be good to everybody?
And then if you think about this in a non-Western sense, you think about Hinduism and Buddhism. So it's not like this like afterlife thing. So it is being released from the cycle of reincarnation. So it's like, how do I reach moksha? How do I reach nirvana? And if we have, like, Buddhism has several universal truths, right?
Yeah.
So Buddhism universal truths are like, life is suffering, you know? Like the only way,
Not so fun.
not so fun. The only way to, like, get out of suffering is, like, through the Eightfold Path. Like, those are, like, the universal truths of Buddhism. So it's less, Buddhism is not, like, so
Rigid.
loves you.
And rigid, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can come back.
Is there a god in Buddhism?
There's nirvana, which is the highest state of enlightenment that you can get.
No, Buddha is not.
No. Some people tried to and some branches deified him. So, and they, yeah.
I wasn't sure they actually like even had like any.
Like I said, there's a few people that argue that Buddha is deified, but he didn't. Siddhartha Gautama did not teach that I am a god.
Right.
Yeah, that comes later. It's kind of like all the philosophies. So Buddhism, Confucianism, even they start off as philosophies, and then people add like religious worshiping aspects later.
Not really, yeah. So belief systems affected gender roles. So Buddhism and Christianity encouraged a monastic life. So what does that mean? Monastic.
Monks. Jonah said monks. What do? What is that?
They just like meditate.
They meditate.
They meditate. They're separated. So like our genders like mixing in monastic societies.
Heck no.
Monastic
Heck no.
areas. No, right? Confucianism emphasized filial piety. What is filial piety?
Like you have a certain role.
Devotion to your family, right? Confucianism in general had like 5 basic like relationships that like you have to like, acknowledge and respect in life. So there's like father, son,
Ruler,
and,
subject.
like, subject, or like older brother, younger brother. So Confucianism is all about like accepting your role in society and then behaving appropriately according to where you fit in. So like superior, inferior roles, and they take care of one another.
The most important thing for beliefs affecting gender roles, too, is knowing which of these belief systems give women better opportunities. I'm not going to say greater because nobody's like super beyond in that regard, but greater opportunities to be part and participate in them. So going back to monastic life, the fact that both Buddhism and Christianity had nuns in both of those religions, that's going to tell you that, the allowance of that will have better opportunities than, let's say, Confucianism or Hinduism in those regards.
Hinduism did not like allow women to read like the Sanskrit.
And then think of everybody remembers sati. The practice of sati is a big reminder that, if your man dies, you got to go with him.
That fire.
Go jump in. And Confucianism too, the whole widow thing, and that is, it's,
Is it the same time as infanticide?
Infanticide is going on since Paleolithic revolution, Infanticide is just like after the child is born, leaving it, abandon it because you can't take care of it. So that practice is going on for a while. No, leaving it. leaving.
I mean,
Now maybe I'm not sure on that one, but yes.
If they're poor enough
Not that I'm
to
aware of.
abandon their child, they're poor enough to need to eat a meal.
Why waste
Alright.
free
Yeah, that was caught on the
Yes,
recording.
right? Of course. Okay. So the last one is to remind you that, we're talking about these specifics, but there are
Guys,
other religious cultural traditions.
guys,
We'll wait for you because we don't need to take the AP exam, so y'all let us know when you're ready. Okay, so other religious and cultural traditions continue. The thing is as these develop, they will parallel some of the original beliefs that sprung out of those core civilizations we talked about, Mesopotamia, Egypt. There's some basic beliefs, not all of them, but that will tie into those, and it come out of those core civilizations and can be continued to practice. So it's not like they start from scratch completely from everywhere. All right.
okay, so this is just, who has questions about these versus like us going through?
Well, and also, you tell us. It says you have to know the basic features of these beliefs. What in your mind would be a basic feature that you might be expected to know? Because it lists the ones you should know, but when it says, okay, you should know the basic features and beliefs.
Tenets,
Yeah.
basic beliefs, basic practices.
What else? What else would you expect them to think are basic features for you when you think about it? Because when I teach this course, you fill out a chart. What do you think I would put on my chart? Because I do this. I have a religion chart when I teach ancient. What would I expect my students to fill out on that chart? When, where,
who's
major founder, believers, whatever the case is, like Miss Chambers says, deities, components, doctrine, whatever.
That's a religion chart by
Yep, by your head.
here.
Oh, Nito.
Do they have any religious texts? Are there any books affiliated with that, right?
Yes.
Are there,
Chapter death?
yeah, major branches, denominations? Is it just one whole thing, or do they evolve into Sunni Shiite or Orthodox Protestant? Those kind of things. So could you, that's what you're asking yourself, make a little chart of these religions and fill it out with who, what, where, when, what are they reading, what do they believe? And if the answer is no, then that you need to put on your to-do list. Okay, I would say probably the only one that's kind of fluffy that doesn't really have a lot of those is polytheism, shamanism, and animism. And then I guess, what is animism? That's the one that I'm sure polytheism, you've got multiple gods, whatever the case is. But what's animism, and why is it usually affiliated with shamanism?
They're like nature spirits.
Right, exactly, nature spirits. So Evan's right. So where do you remember learning? Which societies do you remember being more animistic and having shamans?
The Mongols,
Yes.
Southeast Asia, like the Indonesian.
The pastoralists, the steppe people, yes, absolutely. But even Japan, early, Shinto and Kami, the belief in the spirit and stuff like that, yes. And so those are less capable of being boxed into like parameters, like having a book and a founder, whatever the case is. What's a shaman?
Dude, manipulate the elements and communicate with the spirit.
Yes, he is the mediator, like kind of like a priest or a holy man that, communicates with that spirit world and gives you like the oracle bones. The person who kind of like reads what the bones are saying.
Was it the Mayan tradition where they used to like cut their tongues? The shamans?
Yes. And like to pull the thread through it, like those
Yeah.
thorns. And fun.
Mm.
Fun stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, and we gave you some examples of where you see that most: Africa, Mediterranean regions, early Mediterranean regions, East Asia, and definitely South America, not just the Andean region, but a lot of those. Okay, so yeah. We're leaving this on you. So Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism, Christianity. We've already done Judaism and Hinduism. You should know basic components as well. They're not on there because we've already talked about them. But in your mind, do you know the texts, the religious texts affiliated with them? Do you
What's
know the
text
founders?
associated with Confucianism?
Yeah.
Since you're not asking questions.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You're not telling us. We assume you know. So what is the text?
The followers wrote a book about all this, like,
What is it called? You have to be able to recognize it. Remember, it's not going to be like magically pop up. They will be like, this is a book of which religion. So if they give you a stimulus that says the name of that religious text, and then the question is which philosophy / religious belief system does this affiliate with, you would have to know. So what is the major text of Confucianism? Ooh, y'all are going to have to hit religions, John Green, something. The Analects.
I knew the word, but I didn't remember.
Okay, well, you need to, and that's what I'm saying. And not just y'all. A period was horrible on religions last period. They were. I don't know what y'all did last year for religion or belief systems.
No, we did a ton. Are
You
kidding
need
me?
to go make yourself a chart and fill it out. Okay, well, y'all are answering. If you did a lot, you're not remembering. So, okay, so then y'all know Confucianism where? You're scaring me. China.
Okay.
Thank you. What was the other one? Five relationships.
Five relationships. It's very good. So education is very important.
Government and being involved in the government and being an active citizen.
Like out of the warring state period.
Yeah.
Like they wanted to bring order
Yes.
to society.
So being active in your society and being a participant.
The warring states period.
Yes.
And so that's next. Let's go into that, Jonathan. But so it's not Confucianism, different philosophy. So what do they believe?
So what's the Tao?
It's like it just is.
It just is. That's right.
So
The way.
Tao is this like universal flow of life. Like the Tao is
The way.
right? So whereas like Confucianism is emphasizing education and like bettering society, and like Taoism is let it be. Non-action is more important in Taoism.
Action, yeah. And water is important in Taoism.
Like go with the flow, kind of.
Passivism, right? Like not really making big moves. But alchemy. So we put these in parentheses because a lot of early medical practices, gunpowder comes out of Taoists. Happens with their, and we have that with the firecrackers and things like that. There's something else about Taoism. I say the yin and the yang, but that kind of goes. That's theirs. And the text, the Tao Te Ching.
What was the text called?
The Tao Te Ching. You're gonna have to look that up to spell it, or just a lot of these things sounds like you're gonna look up book founders, etc. But they do have their book. Founder. Taoism. No. Yes. Okay, looking up. Know these founders, books, basic. This, like it says, major basic features you're expected to recognize and know. Buddhism, right? Founder of Confucianism, yes. Buddhism's tricky. Who's the founder?
It's the prince.
Yes. What's his name?
It's
Siddhartha Gautama, Nepali prince, right? Right. What is the? We already told them the text. Do you remember what we said?
Probably not.
Well, the major writing. What's the major codified thing for them? Eightfold Path. Eightfold Path.
Yes. That's the only way to get out of suffering.
Yeah, the different steps to get out of your suffering.
But was it codified, the Eightfold Path?
Eventually.
Eventually, yes.
Okay, so then Buddhism branches off. We haven't talked about different denominations or going off into things. Yes, Mahayana Buddhism with Ashoka later, right, is the greater vehicle because he was like, I don't really want to give up all my wealth and my riches, so I want to be a good person though. So let's do this and still be Buddhist and be great. And then those that are like, no, you got to be like Siddhartha, give it all up, die emaciated. They are known as what type of Buddhist? Theravada. Well, Mahayana, but Theravada Buddhism. And then you go to East Asia. I'm going to take a little trip to China and Japan, and they do their own little thing. Little syncretic blend of Buddhism. What do they call it?
Confucianism and
Zen Buddhism. Zen Buddhism. Right. There we go. Yes, it moves. Because remember,
eventually, most of them have some kind of syncretic form of both Buddhism and Shinto.
Yeah.
Because Shinto really is more of an ethnic religion, and religion doesn't really.
So yes, and then oh my gosh, I'm scared. Christianity, founders, beliefs, books, etc. What do we got? Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Right. Okay, so you've got Jesus of Nazareth, right? Okay. Approximately when? Oh, we didn't do the wins on the other. The other ones are more. The other ones are earlier. Approximately around which time period? Because we need to do dates. Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism are around approximately what time? 500, 600 BCE, right? Christianity?
32 AD.
Yeah, 0 to 32 AD, common era, right? Okay, we did hit the founder book.
The Bible.
Specifically, well, the Bible, the compilation. So the New Testament, because the Old Testament is shared with Judaism. All right, cool. Any what are the major beliefs? What separates it from the other monotheistic religion?
Jesus is our savior.
Jesus is
The savior.
the son, Messiah, the Son of God, right? Okay, and then of course Protestantism, Orthodox, everything that comes after
Do you
that.
guys know the book for Judaism?
Yeah.
Torah.
Yes.
Said that
Good.
earlier.
Okay.
I know that for some people.
Ready?
Okay, artistic expressions, including literature and drama, architecture and sculpture. So, of course, you have Greek plays. Can anyone name some
Bless you.
Greek playwrights?
Sophocles.
Sophocles.
Sophocles,
Sophocles
Homer.
Homer.
Homer a playwright. He's more of a
He writes epics.
he writes epics.
Yeah. He's older.
Not Shakespeare. No.
Euripides, Aeschylus.
I just know Sophocles. If you put these down on a piece of
You've been reading these all freshman year. Like that's all y'all do.
Like, if we saw the name, we'd probably just think Greek.
It's like, yeah, it's a Greek.
It's a great testing strategy, guys. If I see it, I'll know it.
Yeah. Right. Right. Good. Good job.
You're right, though.
Okay, Indian epics. Ramayana, what is this about?
I have no idea.
Ramens. No.
It's like it's like this. I don't know.
Yeah?
When I read it, it was like reflected the patriarchal system
Yes.
in India. because,
Yes.
Like, there was
There's
this
a
woman
prince.
who was
Yes.
royal.
And she's like kidnapped, right?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
And the like, there's
His
weird
wife's
animals.
kidnapped
Yes.
By this demon,
Mm-hmm.
this devil god. Yes.
But he gets in trouble because like he's like covets her and like
Yeah.
whatever the case is. So there's like blue people.
Oh, Avatar.
Yeah, they actually made a modern movie. Like there is a Bollywood version of this. Ramayana is huge. It gets depicted in plays and things. And there's new. Shh. But you need to know it, you guys. So when you're like, y'all are like, you know, they, like I said, stimulus questions will break you because they will give you a piece of it and they'll be like, what is this probably from? And if you don't know what it's about, if all you can say is it's from India, they're going to kill you on that because they will. That's what the whole point of stimulus questions are, to give you pieces of things that you should recognize and then be like, oh, yeah, this is clearly out of Vedic or whatever the case is. So you need to make notes if you don't know. Just knowing Ramayana is India is not enough. You need to at least get a brief summary, recap of what it's about and why it's important to those societies. Okay, architecture.
So Ashoka columns. So
Who is Ashoka?
Who is Ashoka?
He was
Person,
the
place, or
prince.
thing.
who-
What prince?
Person.
Of the...
What dynasty?
What empire?
Woo! Closer, but not Gupta.
Yes.
Marian. Marian. Why is he important? Why does he have columns?
He does really well.
Edicts on them.
Yes, edicts about what? What is he spreading on those edicts, on those pillars?
His laws.
His what? But more than just his laws, because some of them have to do with animal rights, surprisingly. What? What? Buddhism, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal because India, after Siddhartha, like it goes away, is like, yeah, we're not really a Buddhist society. We're more of a Hindu society. But Ashoka brings back Buddhism and makes it pretty much the official religion of Mauryan Empire because of a little battle called Kalinga, where he sees a lot of bloodshed, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is,
Too much.
I can't take it. And he converts to Buddhism. There's the greater vehicle,
Ashoka was,
Mahayana.
like a really known as like a really
He was
great
very,
conqueror.
very
Yes.
violent.
Yes.
And then he had this like change of heart and then became like a Buddhist and spread like missionaries and like
Right.
Another religious person that had a change of heart.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is where we like
It was
picked
actually
up.
great.
It's what?
This is point.
Is this where we like
Eastern
picked up for
Kingdom.
this year? Like, it was.
No,
No.
no, we're Mughal. Mughal dynasty is where we picked at.
we're nowhere close.
It is like chapter, India 8, 9, maybe, I don't know. I know it's in that little part. So Mauryan Guptan is towards like the end, maybe 10, 11, I don't know. But it's in, if you need to go back over India, it covers. And the other thing is that, it's big because the Mauryan and Guptan are the big. Y'all probably remember it's annoying because they're Chandragupta Mauryan and Chandragupta. They have the same name, different. Chandragupta established the Gupta, and Chandragupta full name is the Mauryan. So going over that's important. So yes, Buddhism starts to be popular in India, but does it last after Ashoka?
Not really.
No, Gupta go back to Hinduism, and that's a big deal.
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9, yes.
So you could compare that dude to Paul, right?
Kind of, yeah, because he had his vision and he went around and he changed his mind after that. Yeah, there's a lot of connections with people who are like, I'm not going to be, our Siddhartha, like we talked about.
Because, like, Ashoka, like, there was a lot of Buddhist temples and stupas. What are stupas?
Love that word, by the way. One of my favorites.
Stupas.
Your stupa. What is a stupa?
Shrine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, good.
And you're
They're-
doing the
they're
motion
domes.
because you're right. Because they're like
hemisphere
Eskimos. Yeah, they're like little
Right.
domes, shrines along
They
the.
had, like usually like the bones of like monks
Yeah.
and like so.
For pilgrimage, and they were mostly on the Silk Road because a lot of the Buddhist travelers and merchants would need places to stop. All right, we'll start with Parthenon Saturday, wherever we get. See you Sunday, 12 to 2. Bring your food if you're rolling out of bed.
Oh, what time is that?
12 to 2. It's on this assignment sheet too. No.
That's what the
Let me see.
stupid was.
Let me see. What? You need a donut. No. What? Yes.
Because you have
Okay.
Might not be here on Monday.
My grandmother is rolling around in her grave right
We need to
now.
get somebody that's going to maybe record or take notes for you. Or because we're just going to go as far as we're going to do a practice exam the first hour, so that's not a big deal. I would just recommend you do another one in your book. I pick another one to do, just a multiple choice. And then Monday, same thing. We'll be recording if we need to, so make sure that you have that too. Okay. But the homework is just basically reading the review book and keeping up with the review book and all of that stuff. If you have stuff on there, yes.
So,
Sorry about the beginning
Did you
of
get-
the period that was like came out of nowhere. And
did you get Jenny's stamp sheet?
yes, I got all of them. I put them together and I graded that. Because I did it, and he's like, oh no, maybe we should spread them out. And I was like, or if you want me to be the only one, you need to pay me. Like, I mean, well, yeah, Pastor Leslie probably should be doing it. You think? Yeah. So anyway, that was that. But it's like, totally unexpected comment, whatever the case is, and I was just like, I'm busy right now.
Okay.
So I was just like, whatever the case
Sunday,
is.
12 to 2?
12 to 2,
Yes,
girl.
ma'am.
Bring yourself. Oh, read this. It'll take you 2 seconds, but okay. First of all, this person was admitted. So if they're taking this test, that means we're placing them. That's the first one I read, by the way.
What?
So let me tell you the prompt. What was the most important thing in history you learned in your last history class, and why defend and
Wait,
history?
I don't even understand what that means.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He was supposed to discuss the most important thing.
No, I mean
Right.
this.
Well, keep reading. It gets better. Okay, so my goal is to send them the best recording from all day.
What? Is he serious? Did he know what this was for?
Had to.
Did he also write that up there? This is Comic Sans, by the way.
I'm assuming, right?
Should I find one?
Yes.
So,
I'll get ready.
reading. Go look at the memes or something. Seriously, you're still reading? You're very determined to know that, right? Well, here's the second high fat punctuation. I can do good punctuation stress. We chose what this is admitted.
Mhm.
What honestly doesn't take that long to find. Like on papers to read. So what now?
Megan, does it matter?
Are memes to stream? Was long gone by.
You can print it out.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's
He
what
can
I
do
thought.
whatever a spider can. Memes me? What? I should have said coin in French. Did you know it's from portals in French? 9999. That's just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching or reading like nerd. Oh, you just got roasted so bad.
Roasted in that way. So anyway,
Wait, how is this?
I can.
How is this possible?
I got an email from Wendy to me and Sharon that was like, hey, would y'all grade this guy's thing real fast? There's a thing that's developing and we need to have a score. And so it was like, it just happened to be the one on the front. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's like, whatever. Unfortunately, that goes to global studies is what that is if he's here because it's not, because this is the test if you're conscious or not, right? And so I immediately took pictures of it and texted her. I was like, I said, like, what? You knew this person? And she was just like, yeah, we're on it because he did the same thing to all the other honors level, you know, the whatever these things are, testing exams to see if you're in honors or regular. He did the same thing. And so she's taking law to Andy and Peter. And like, I guess they're gonna. I would hope they're gonna try and rescind the offer.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to seeing like, you know, other crazy stuff like that are one paragraphs and like, you know, like slavery is bad. You shouldn't do it to people. Yeah, I know. Slavery is the most important thing we learned. It's bad. You shouldn't harm people. You know, like, and I'm like, okay, that's great. You need some development, but Spider-Man, moo moo, quack quack, woof woof. Really?
How far did we get in our class compared to others?
Further, like 2 slides further.
Because they're silent.
I know. I absolutely know. So what I was telling you,
Do you know everything?
what I was telling you,
What's
come here
the
and tell
tax
me if you can just
certification
no, they don't. No.
Okay.
Yeah, you should sit in here. It's different. Okay, so come and tell me if you know, because this is what's happening. Because it records the screen, which is fine. But the problem is that when you go to play, well, I don't know how to make it go to the. Okay, so you know we hit play, right? And then it goes to this view. Okay, so it records my screen. But the kids who get the recording are going to see this. But if you swap screens, that goes up there, and this.
I don't know how to do
Right,
that.
I don't either. I'm just like, so anyway, I don't think it matters.
Just record this and just
Well, no,
tell
but that's too long. It's too long. Like it's easier when you did it in Camtasia. So I mean, they'll see that. I mean, whatever they were supposed to print it out. So the whole point is that they see it. But the point is that you can pace our talking with the screens. So that's why that's important. But I'm just like, I don't know how to fix it. So I'm not doing anymore. I did ours, and I did.
Well, we're trying. Yeah,
Did I close it?
we're in Tom. Tom took it out.
I don't know if I closed it. Is this your voice or my voice? What is this? Hold on. Okay, y'all. We'll be with you in a minute.